Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm doing the astrology report for the week commencing the 2nd of May, outlining some of the key aspects taking place during the week and what they mean for us, and just giving a general overview. Now before I go through the actual aspects themselves, I just want to clarify, as I always do, that the astrology itself does not control us in any way, shape or form. Astrology is merely helping us to understand what the energetic influences during the course of the week, what do they mean for us, and if we're aware of this, we can then choose how we respond to things rather than just reacting to external events. And if I start off as I normally do, so we have the moon going to, starting off in Sagittarius. This is a time of exploring new ideas, exploring new landscapes potentially, and also discussing things openly and figuring out what ideas can we potentially make happen and how we can tap into a wider vision of something that needs to be created but hasn't so far. On Friday, the moon will enter Capricorn, and this is a time of applying ideas. So it's a very practical science. It's a couple of days worth of getting things done, of taking action and putting our ideas into practice to see, are they applicable, do they work well, do they need modifying, and obviously just trying to make these ideas manifest in the real world. Obviously we need to make sure that they're aligned with the spiritual laws and we're not just doing it blindly and impulsively. And then on Sunday the moon will move into Aquarius, and this is often a time where I feel that need to sit back, to detach a little bit and reflect on how well our goals have grown, but also understand what is our role within our own communities and how can we better fulfill that role so we're more helpful, we're more beneficial, as it were, for other people. It doesn't mean that we try to make ourselves useful better than what other people want. It just means that we understand what we're capable of doing and how we can convert that into acts of service that will help our wider community. Now there's not much going on this week by comparison, but we do have an exact sextile between the Sun and Neptune on that's taking place on Sunday, and then the following day Vesta will be turning retrograde. But during this time the Sun will also be moving closer to an exact trine to Pluto, an exact opposition with Jupiter, but these energies will be building up. But what the aspects to Neptune, Pluto and Jupiter essentially relate to each other is the sextile to Neptune is about understanding the need to incorporate spirituality or to develop greater empathy, psychic sensitivity and greater compassion towards one another. So it's learning to embody these qualities. It's the sextile, so it's a fairly harmonious aspect. However, it's often one where we have to take the opportunity. It doesn't manifest rapidly like the trine does, but it gives us an opportunity to develop greater psychic sensitivity, to work on our reserves of compassion for one another, and obviously sharing that compassion and that universal love, so we empower one another. And with the trine to Pluto, this may be the first time we really feel the hit of Pluto retrograde full on, with it being the first aspect directly to the Sun since Pluto turned retrograde. But during this time, this trine gives an opportunity to more consciously or more easily make peace with our shadow, as it were, or to recognise our shadow side and how it undermines us, and work on stripping away the negative influences, stripping away old thought patterns, old emotional patterns and old behaviours which don't allow us to be the best versions of ourselves or undermine us when we're trying to live a life of integrity. And with the Sun opposed Jupiter, and obviously this aspect to Pluto and Jupiter will be exact the Wednesday of the following week, but basically the opposition to Jupiter marks the midpoint of the retrograde. It marks like a seed of a new beginning, and this is very much about the whole balancing of Taurus Scorpio polarity. Sun in Taurus and Jupiter in Scorpio is a bit like a full moon as such. It's a time of reflection and recognising where issues buried in the unconscious that are coming to the surface impacts our day-to-day lives. They impact our self-esteem, our self-worth, which then impacts our sense of how valuable we are, and potentially affects our ability to go after or generate the resources that we need. But that I'll go into more detail next week on those, but it's worth knowing now because the energy will be building up to that opposition. But the fact we've had a full moon in Scorpio kind of gives us a brief taste of that as such ahead of time, but it's an opportunity for us to develop a greater balance between the physical side of ourselves, so physical needs, physical security, and the emotional needs and emotional desire for emotional security. And it's about, through being present in the body, it becomes easier to transform old emotional patterns, because it's only in the present moment we can truly heal anything, because the present moment is the only moment that exists in reality. Everything else is just the mind's reflection or its relationship to stuff that's happened in the past or what we're looking forward to in the future. If we're anchored in the present moment and we've become present with one another, and we're less likely to allow conditioning to affect us, because the ego cannot operate in the present moment or can't control the present moment. It's the one thing that it tries to avoid. So if we become more present in our lives and learn to live in the present moment, then the past naturally dies away. Emotional conditioning is shed as we feel it and let it go, and we become much stronger as a result. And the other thing that I mentioned towards the beginning was Vesta is turning retrograde on Monday. I'll be doing a separate video on this, but essentially Vesta is the goddess asteroid of spiritual devotion, of commitment to self and commitment to personal integrity. So when Vesta turns retrograde, this gives us a time where we need to be reflecting on this and looking at, do we ever end up pursuing or doing something that someone's asked us to do but we didn't want to do it? And we said yes because we felt like we had to, but in reality we don't actually want to do it. So part of Vesta retrograde is about learning to be in a position where it's the whole let your yay be yay or your nay be nay. So it's only doing things if we're truly committed to doing it, because otherwise we're doing it in the wrong spirit, the wrong attitude, and it just nullifies it. No matter how, it doesn't matter how noble or how beneficial the end result is, if it's done with the wrong intention, then it's not really true. So it's about being honest with ourselves and making sure that if we say we're going to do something, we do it. If we say we want to do something and we don't, then we're not being honest. We're not being honest with ourselves, we're not being honest with other people, and potentially the quality of the work we do, and based on what someone's asked us to do, isn't going to be up to the right standard, because we weren't doing it because we wanted to, so we weren't really committed to it. And with Vesta turning retrograde in Capricorn as well, Capricorn is very much about that personal integrity. It's about making sure that who we present ourselves as to other people should be in exact alignment with who we truly are on the inside. So if we're not being true to ourselves, we end up pursuing goals which aren't right for us, and we never feel secure within ourselves. So we need to, during that period, we need to make sure that we're being true to ourselves. We're pursuing long-term goals that are right for who we are, or honour our innate sense of self. But obviously we need to make sure we're also being honest with people, so we don't lead people on. They know what the score is. If they don't like it, there's not a lot we can really do about that, but we owe it to ourselves to be honest. Otherwise we just end up doing things with the wrong spirit, and then the end result isn't as productive as it could have been had we been doing something that we wanted to do and we're absolutely committed to. So I hope this useful guide for the week. As I said, there's not a huge amount going on, but the main ones are sextiles to Neptune and Vesta retrograde. But this is a week for us to kind of go inwards, to learn to be more grounded, but also to connect with our spiritual side more often, because we are spiritual beings at the end of the day, having a human experience. And Neptune in Pisces is amplifying the spiritual energies around us. So if we can connect with those energies in a grounded way, so we're not going to be pulled off into illusion and la land. It's about being grounded but feeling that spiritual energy with us, knowing it's within us, and then utilising it positively. So this is a week for slowing down, but it's also the precursor to magical May. This May holds so much potential for significant growth, but it's obviously that growth manifests on a week by week basis. So if we keep working on ourselves, if we maintain that spiritual devotion to self and to being true to who we are, and continue to take the necessary actions to keep goals going, but making sure everything we do is honest and it's done with a spirit of love, not fear, then there is so much that we all have the potential to create. So I hope that's a useful guide for the week. May it bring you many blessings, and have a wonderful week.